Welcome to Decoding Our Lives, a place to ask questions, gain understanding, and find the missing pieces of your life. It's time to open your mind and discover the world from a new place and a whole new perspective. Now here are your hosts, the Shaman Lady, Kathy Silver, and the Reverend Rob Lee. Hey, it's the Shaman Lady, Kathy Silver. How are you today?
I am just groovy, doing wonderful, feel good. How are you doing?
I am good. I am loving this cold weather. For us, it's cold. Other people I talked to this morning, you know, they're buried in snow, and we're turning the heat on because it got below 68.
I say it's sweater weather.
This is great. This is beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. Hey, we got a great show today. Okay. Another young man that you found. You want to tell us a little bit about him?
Well, I met him I'm trying to think about how many years ago, 5, 6 years ago. Bought his book in 2019. He autographed it for me. It's called Inner Dolphin Awakening. It's his story. It's fabulous. He's got this, I'm going to say, magical connection and has had this internal and external transformation. And I don't think that listeners quite understand this connection and the importance that the dolphins and the whales have for us and our world. And he is, I'm going to say, an interpreter of that language and is here to share what these magnificent mammals actually mean and bring to us. Perfect. So that's why I'm so excited about it, because it just adds another dynamic of pieces that we haven't been able to understand up until just recently.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And Jan Lemuri is an international facilitator, presenter, and author of Inner Dolphin Awakening. His curiosity was sparked 18 years ago when dolphins started visiting him in his dreams. His journey took him to meet and often swim with cetaceans in Hawaii, Croatia, Azores, New Zealand, Tonga, and Australia. Man, he's been everywhere. In 2012, he finished his studies of social work, ta-da, with a thesis on dolphin-assisted therapy. He is passionate about awakening our inner dolphin, a part of us that is joyful, curious, and quantum, and has channeled numerous tools, meditations, and insights to assist us on this journey. He currently resides in McMinnville, Oregon, with his wife and a 6-year-old daughter. So let's bring this young man in and get this party started. What do you say?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, here we go. All right, Jan, if you will, go ahead and activate your camera. There we go. Jan Lemuri, everybody. Jan Lemuri, to say it correctly. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Decoding Our Lives. How are you, sir?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be with you and share more about dolphins, whales, and whatever else comes up for today's program.
Well, as you can see, I relate to the whales, you know, so very personally. But you know, all kidding aside, yeah, this was when Kathy talked to me about this, and I didn't get a lot of detail and didn't read a lot because I wanted to kind of come at this from the fresh perspective or whatnot. But tell us a little bit about how this all started for you.
So it started with dreams, and that was almost 20 years ago now. And it was very interesting because as a kid, I never had any special connection to dolphins or whales. So I've never seen them. I've never imagined being with them. They weren't a special animal for me. And all of a sudden, in my early 20s, a few years after I woke up, I started getting dreams where dolphins are in my dreams almost every night. And at first I was just finding it interesting, but then I was like, I guess I have to, when it goes on for like half a year or a year, you're like, okay, I guess I need to do something with that dream. Like, why am I keep on dreaming about dolphins without ever seeing them, without ever finding anything about them special or in any way, you know, where I would have a dream about them in a way of like, oh, I want to go see them or anything. So I decided what I needed to do was go swim with them somewhere and figure out what the dreams were about. So this was the beginning of this journey. And it took me, actually, I come from a small country called Slovenia in Europe, and
Okay.
I was a student at the time. I barely had enough money to get by, so I had no idea how am I gonna get to somewhere where dolphins are to swim with them. So
you're saying even in your area, you weren't familiar with dolphins. They were not like Kathy and I live right here in Florida, so we see them all the time. So we're very familiar. So this wouldn't be something that's common to you to incorporate into your dreams.
No, it was, Slovenia is right next to Austria. We do have a little bit of Mediterranean coast, but it's mostly Alps. It's mostly high mountains. And this is what I did every weekend as a kid. Not, I would go into high mountains, but it wasn't my idea. My dad was really into climbing, and he would just drag us. Like, he started when we were barely walking, and he would put a rope around our belt and just drag us into the mountains. And I actually, now I love beautiful, pure nature, but as a kid, I hated that I never had time off. It was always mountains.
Cartoons, yeah.
Yeah. Can't I do what normal kids do, or they just watch? On the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, it was always going up into the mountains. So it was the opposite, really, of dolphins. And a friend of mine saw them in Croatia, which is next to Slovenia. We would go to Croatia as a family, but I never saw dolphins. And like I said, there was never anything I felt in a way of like, where you say, oh, these are so special to me, or I like dolphins or anything. There was no relationship prior to the dreams. It was really the dreams that came in that started, for me to pay attention. I was like, okay, so something's going on and I have no idea what it is. So this is how it all started.
Wow.
So I want to know, where was your first swim or first intimate contact? And did you have a real awakening or aha moment? Like you said, oh my God, they touched my heart. I understand why these dreams are here, what the message is. Or was it kind of a slow process and you had to keep going?
Well, it took me 6 years to make it to Hawaii. And somehow intuitively, I was like, okay, I need to go to Hawaii to do that. Even though I checked a lot of other places out, it just didn't seem right to go anywhere else. Okay. So it took me 6 years to save enough money to go to Hawaii. And I was... I like to say that I was like a greenhorn. It's an expression from the Western kind of books that I loved reading. So I came to Hawaii. I actually never even snorkeled before, or I just wasn't familiar with any of that. So my first dolphin swim was swimming. I came into a bay where dolphins tend to be sometimes, and they were there in the morning. And I decided to swim out to them. And what I didn't notice was when I got closer to them, my energy wasn't aligned with them. And I love sharing this because it's very important. So I was trying to get as close as possible. I didn't have snorkel mask or anything. I was just swimming. I was just, okay, I'm gonna get to you. I'm gonna get to you. So when I got really close to them, I got even more excited and even more wanted to swim. And so this was going on for a while, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. I'm like, dolphins, and I'm swimming, and I'm thinking, okay, this is gonna be like my dreams where they come to me. And I'm swimming, and I didn't notice that they're actually starting to move out of the bay, and I'm following them without, I didn't pay attention to the surroundings. And at one point, 15 or 20 minutes into this, I was, by that time, I had a very good swim in. I was kind of tired already, and dolphins disappear. And then I turn around and look at the shore, and I realized I got really, really far. So,
like,
and
wow.
And that was the moment where all the stories about the currents, about all this stuff, dying at the ocean, it all came in, because I was like, oh my God.
So instead of an aha moment, you had a oh shit moment.
Yes. Yeah,
I'm going to die in this moment.
Yeah.
I went from complete excitement and such a joy to be there, seeing dolphins finally after all these years, to oh my God, yeah, I might just die in a current, So yeah, it was very interesting. So that was the first experience, and that's when I learned that, oh, maybe it's not like in the dreams. Maybe I need to learn how to actually do it in the physical.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then I went and learned how to snorkel and went out on a boat that took us out, and then I actually got the experience of the dolphins coming to me just like in the dream. So that was the first, contact that had that quality of the dreams. And it was people would describe it as the dolphin bliss. So it's this feeling of timelessness. It's a feeling of such joy that it seems every cell of the body is vibrating with something completely out of this world. And it's very hard to describe that experience. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. So not every dolphin swim is going to be a dolphin bliss. But when it happens, it's just an experience from beyond. It's the joy, the bliss, everything that comes with it. It's very hard to put into human 3D terms of what it actually is. So I had that experience, and I thought that would explain why my dreams are there, and it didn't. But what it did for me was that instead of having a resolution of what's going on with all the dreams, I decided, there was just this natural, evolvement of, I want to be in this state of dolphin bliss as often as possible. So from then on, every journey I would go, like everywhere I traveled, it always had to have dolphins and whales involved in that. There was just such a pull to be with them anywhere I go. So I decided to just, start traveling and organize in my mind, where to go, what to do. Rob, you mentioned you were a social worker as well. I also went to the professor that was the craziest at our university, and I said, I want to write a thesis on dolphin therapy. And she said, go ahead. And I said, okay. So everything in my life started to be connected to dolphins and whales. So all of a sudden I went from dreaming about them for years and not having any physical interaction to then just going and being with them all over the world and traveling specifically to meet with them in all the different places.
What I think is amazing about this story so far right now?
Yeah.
We have people living right here in Florida that would love to live that life. And you actually manifested that life for yourself, not even being anywhere near them. It took some time, but you made this part of your life. And there are millions, and I would say, if not billions of people around this world that be like, that's what I want to do. I'd love to spend my life working with dolphins and whales. But you manifested it. And from social work to ocean work. And it's kind of, that's amazing to me. That's something I think there's a key piece in there that people need to learn. We can do what we want to do.
There's two things in there that are really important. So one thing is, and there has been a lot said on that, but when it comes down to doing it, it's still a very scary thing. And that is that you kind of need to jump off a cliff when the big dream comes to you and asks you to do something.
Yeah.
So when I went to travel, in 2012, I finished the studies of social work, and I decided I'm leaving on a one-way ticket. And I had a way to spend over a year in New Zealand and Australia and so on. So I knew I can be places, but at the same time I literally left with $500. So, when people always say, oh, it's about money, or, I wish I could do that. And it really is about the trust. So when that big dream comes to you and asks you to follow it, because it's yours, it's really your soul's highest vision for this life. that's when you have to be crazy enough to jump off that cliff and simply follow it, even if you don't know what is going to happen. And it is challenging. And I think that's why most people don't do it, because you do meet challenges along the way. I mean, I ran out of money traveling quite a few times, and I was like, it seemed like this, oh, am I homeless now, or am I a free traveler that can go anywhere he wants?
Right.
It's such a fine line. But all I had was this big love for traveling and for dolphins and whales, and the dreams coming in, and not just the dreams in the nighttime, but also the daydreaming, the dreams of the soul, where you have certain visions, where you have certain ideas that you just feel such a deep calling to follow. And I just needing to jump is a big part. And the abundance, I love I don't know if you've ever heard of Bashar. It's a channeled entity, and he has a definition of abundance, and he always mentions that it doesn't include money, because we always think, oh, abundance is money, but he says abundance is ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it.
Perfect definition.
Yes.
So I've got another question for you, because we know that the whales and dolphins are sacred, and there's many things contained within their Akash that affect us. And I would love for you to share with the listeners so they understand the dolphin and whales, I'm going to say, bigger role, and what they play for us in our, I'm going to say, unfolding into one paradigm to another, even going into the original templates and explaining the Akash and things like that, because I know this is, most people, it's not in their wheelhouse. And so part of this show is to introduce new concepts. And so I want them to understand it, and I want them to hear it from you, not me, because you are the expert in this area.
So for those of the listener that haven't heard the word Akash, it means it's a collection of either, all the experiences from past lives, or even the potentials of the future lives. So really, we connect that to the crystalline grid of the planet. So it's a very esoteric knowledge about how our lives here function. It involves the concepts of reincarnation. It involves the concepts of planet Earth being a conscious, Gaia soul entity that has different ways of taking care of life on the surface and under the surface and in the air. So we have different layers of information here. And Akashic Records is like a personal library of all the past life and future life experiences. So they say dolphins and whales are like a backup system to this Akashic, to this crystalline memory bank, and that they hold information for us, not just about our past lives, but also our connections to other planets, other star systems, and so on. So it's a very esoteric concept. And I like to say all of that doesn't even matter when a dolphin comes swimming to you and looks you in the eye, because this is the experience of everything I try to describe. So the experience is of Dolphin Bliss is actually an experience of being seen straight into the soul, behind all the layers, behind all the identities and everything you believe your life is about. There's this gaze that goes straight down to the deepest parts of your being. And so if dolphins can see into your soul, the explanation is then that they can see everything you've been, not just this human incarnation, but all of them that you had on this planet, and how it all ties into a bigger picture. So that's the other thing, is the concept of reincarnation, the concept of Akash, and all of these are put in place with the understanding that everything that happens on this planet does have a bigger picture, does have a bigger way of a puzzle that's multidimensional, and the way it comes together, the way these pieces are all connected, and how my experiences with dolphins and whales can completely relate to somebody else's experience with either another animal, a spiritual guide, a spiritual teacher, whatever it is. But there is the word consciousness, that's the essential part of all of this. So it really comes down to how much do you remember who you are, why you're here, and where you're going. And dolphins and whales kind of hold a piece of joyfully reminding us of how beautiful and grand our multidimensional plan, our multidimensional essence actually is.
Yeah, and I would love, okay, I'm sorry, Rob, go ahead.
No, so I'm curious about this. So are we saying that dolphins and whales and cetaceans, these things are actually playing a part in our spiritual life as we know it?
Yes.
Okay. I love that. Short, sweet. I'm always telling my wife, yes or no. Shut up. Give me yes or no. That's it. So thank you for holding me to my own shit. So I love the part where you said it was like a Akashic record, almost like a backup system. So that gets me going. And we all know I challenge. Okay. It's one of my whys is what I do is why. Okay. So my question is then, pretty soon, Bruce and I, a young man and I, are fixing to have a very deep, impactful conversation about alien life. Do you then believe that these are could whales and dolphins then potentially be extraterrestrial life that were seeded here, or were they born here with this knowledge? And we're supposed to be looking for them to guides, but we have taken them for granted.
Yeah, I see them as, I call them librarians.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's like when you come into the library, you can either go and walk between the aisles and look for books yourself, or you can go straight to the librarian and say, I want this book on this and this. So the way your asking is done is actually through your energetic alignment and intention. So when you enter the water with dolphins, or even when you enter into meditation with dolphins and whales, you have a certain intention, you have a certain alignment. Your energy is ready to receive certain books. And Star Akash is what is called your memories of different star planets and different star systems. So I believe they're not just librarians, just a different part of the library. One part of the library is the earthly Akash and earthly experiences. And another part of the library is your star experiences and everything you've experienced before you come here. And what I like to say, because we get very three-dimensional with how we see things. So the way we perceive other civilizations somewhere else is we put a lot of distance between us and them. And we also put a lot of distance between me as who I define myself, my identity, my personality, and some other being from another planet. So the way I describe this, and this was actually an experience, and it all ties together with also something that I haven't shared about yet, the inner dolphin awakening. So, because I believe that a part of us, a part of each one of us is actually on some higher level merged with the collective soul of dolphins and whales. So there's like, it's a system that's very complicated, but I like to explain it as what my experience was a flower that was a Okay, I'll just share the whole experience to just bring clarity to it. So some of you are familiar with the concept of guides, as in energy beings, as in some people call them angels, other people call them, they're spiritual helpers. So this concept of guides, for an intuitive person, for a sensitive person, they can be very real. They can be very present. You can feel them on your shoulder. You can sense them around you. So I had an experience of my guides. It was a very deep meditation, and they came and made a circle around me. And they were actually having this shape, like a shape of a being. So there was the energy, and there was a certain color to each one of them, and each one of them stepped forward and left me in his or her own way. So it's like each person can have a different love for you. It was in the same way that the guides had a unique vibration of love for me, and they stepped forward and did all that, and I was crying because it was so beautiful. And then there was like this moment where everything just shifted, and all of a sudden, all of us were, me including, so the human part was one petal, and every guide was a petal on a flower. And it was almost like somebody said, well, this is how your soul actually looks like. So your guides that seem to be beings that are separate from you are actually petals of the same flower. And each petal can take a journey, can embody into a human or something else. So it seems like it's separate. But then there was this information coming in saying, well, but when the flower says, I am the flower, all of the petals are part of the flower. So that's why I believe they say the soul simply says, I am. So it just, in that moment, it simply is all the petals, no matter what kind of journey you're on, no matter if you're embodied on another part of the galaxy, on a different planet, or you're embodied in this human body, or another petal, as I believe, embodies into dolphins and whales. All of these are simply petals on the flower of the soul. So what Dolphin said to me was, when you start building a bridge to one of the petals, you start building a bridge to all of them. So you start connecting to the totality of the flower just by connecting to either your guides, or connecting to dolphins and whales, or connecting to the star people. However you approach your consciousness awakening process, it always allows you to start remembering the totality of the flower.
Okay, so they're just a piece. They are a piece of this, and it helps us to find other pieces and links to other pieces.
Well, the way I say it is, we wanted to have a physical reminder on this planet of the vibration of what the soul is. So, we came into this body knowing we're going to forget. And we wanted to have somebody that would come in and say, hey, there's more happening, but they don't do it. We're so limited with our words. If you have a person coming to you and say, hey, there's 17 other dimensions, and you automatically disconnect from them because you start thinking about them. And the way the dolphins come in, they don't use words, they simply use an experience. They use vibration and they use sound. So when you're with them, you're remembering without having the words for what you're even remembering. So the words may become, so for me, that's a challenge. They give me this challenge, and that's why they had me write the book, and that's why they want me to write 2 more. But it's not easy to find words that actually describe what this remembrance is. Many times it's simply an experience of vibration that goes beyond what your mind is able to, deal with. So same goes with star people when they come see you. So to answer your question about star people, I really believe that the star people, that do come into contact with you are actually petals of your soul from a different dimension, from a different experience. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming straight to you. They would have a different interaction. Yeah. So this is my stand on all of this.
Okay, I want to take a moment right here and remind people, and they'll see it scrolling around, but you can find Jan's work at innerdolphinawakening.com. The links will be down below. He's got this wonderful book, that we were talking about, the inner dolphin. What is it? Awakening Your Inner Dolphin. What's the name of the book? Inner Dolphin Awakening.
Right here.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody.
Perfect. So I want people to realize too how they can get to you and go there. And if they have questions, is there a place there on your website for them to be able to?
Yeah, there's a form. Yeah.
Perfect.
And they're invited every 3 months. We do a free event where it's called the Sync to the Whales. So we gather online as a quantum choir. We have people from all over the world join us, and we do this alignment of our heart, of our pineal, and then you simply, in your own bedroom, wherever you are, you sing your song, you express your sound towards the whales, and then we listen to their response as the whale song coming back. So it's an event that's happening every equinox and every solstice. So if they go on the webpage, they can sign up for the one that just happened now on solstice. The replay carries the same energy. You're still there with us. It's just in a quantum space, the time doesn't really matter. So
yeah, if it's new to you, it's your now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So there'll be another. When's the next live one? Would that be
the equinox in March? Yeah.
Okay, I'll be there.
Okay, so
I'll be on that one. Can't miss it.
I just have to say, I love your metaphor of the petal, because in my mind, I felt like our soul is in fragments and exists many places, but I didn't connect it as the metaphor of the rose, that everything is connected on that rose as petals. So I just have to say that's a great visual in a 3D world. The other thing is I want you to talk about the magic number of 44, and what you say in your book is about it's something that you can't be shown. And this, I've written about this. It's something that you feel within. And I think that's really interesting. And the other thing I want to tell people is I have swam with the dolphins several times, and they just have this look about them, as well as this joyful way about their being that is just magic. So I just had to add that. But also, we haven't been given the master number of 44 yet, because I don't think our vibrational frequency as a planet has reached that spot. But I think it's here to show us. And I'm going to let you explain about perhaps master numbers and the numbers of the 2 4s together, because I think that's the next step that we're headed to. And perhaps within the next year or two, we will actually accomplish that when we get through sort of the chaos that's, we're dealing with now, because it's just a destruction of one paradigm and a beginning of the next.
Yeah, so for me, that chapter, I didn't even know it was going to be in the book. So I started writing the book, and I described different experiences from around the world, swimming with dolphins and whales. I also described an experience of morphing into a dolphin myself, where I observed my body literally shifting and morphing. And that's a whole nother story that takes a whole book to see how, but it comes back to the petals, and one of the petals being embodied in dolphins and whales. So I believe I just experienced that petal of myself, of my soul. 44 came in last moment when I was done with chapter 8. There was this, I read this somewhere, that dolphins and whales had 44 chromosomes. And it was just all of a sudden I was like, oh, that's very interesting, because in Tibetan numerology, the meanings of the master numbers 11 and 22 and 33 were revealed, and they said that when humanity reaches a certain point in consciousness, 44 is going to be revealed. So I talked about the 44 as the number of dolphins and whales, and also there was this very interesting thing that happened when my wife was pregnant. Her water broke at 7:07 in the morning, and our daughter was born at 3:07. And it took me a few months, or maybe it was even a year, before I went and looked at the numbers and realized that between 7:07 and 3:07, which was almost 2 days later, there was exactly to the minute 44 hours. So there was this symbol of giving birth to the new kids, to the new humanity. And there was the number 44 there. You know, some people call that a coincidence, but I don't see this as a coincidence at all. Like there was a big message in there about the birth of the new humanity and the 44 being connected to that.